got about 15 minutes left, so let me move on. I wanted to talk about a little bit about Switzerland. Now, a lot of people may not be familiar with this, but as of the 19th, Switzerland decided to add in gun control. Switzerland needs gun control. According to an article by the BBC.com on May 19th, Switzerland gun control voters back the European Union regulations. Really? Why? Literally about 50%, almost 50% of the people in Switzerland own a gun. There's well over 3 million people in Switzerland that are known to have been in the military and kept their gun their firearm from when they served in the military, which is mandatory in Switzerland. It's mandatory. Men from the age of 16 to 65 are considered members of the Swiss Army, and they get to keep their firearm for a national emergency, just in case they have to be called up to duty. But they are considered members of the military, 16 to 65, unless that number has changed recently, and I'm not aware that it has. So you're looking at a nation that has an incredible amount of, there's only 8 million people. Basically, all of Switzerland is the size of, basically New York City. Okay. But imagine that. Imagine half of New York City is armed, which probably is true. But imagine that half of New York City is armed, and they have one of the lowest rates of murder and homicide in the nation. 8 million people, and only 45 people were killed. And this is the data may be a little bit old. This is as of 2016. In 2016, the number of people who were killed in Switzerland was 45. Now, in total, there were another 187 attempts at murder, but in total, 45 people were murdered. So a total of 232 cases. So roughly 1 in 5 of the attempts of murder actually succeeded. Half of all of the attempts and or murders in Switzerland were done by foreigners. Only half, about 102, were done by Swiss citizens. So if you're looking at that, so that means out of the 45 people who were killed in Switzerland in a murder, roughly about 22 of them were by Swiss citizens. The Swiss are pretty safe. They're not concerned about, the last time there was a mass shooting in Switzerland, it was in 2001. In 2001, that was the last time that they had a mass shooting. And you can verify that. You can check out the article that was done by BusinessInsider.com, Switzerland gun laws, rates, and rates of gun deaths, 2018. This article came out on, I believe it was December 11th of 2018. Switzerland has a stunningly high rate of gun ownership. Here's why it doesn't have mass shootings. The last mass shooting in Switzerland was in 2001. A guy went crazy. He killed 14 people and himself. That was in 2001. For a nation that has 50%, roughly 50% of the nation owns firearms, and they have a population of 8 million people. That's just ridiculous. Chicago prays for the day that they could have anything even close to that. Chicago prays for the day that they could cut the number of murders and attempted murders in half. There are literally days, just a single day in Chicago that'll have as many, if not more, attempts and or successful murders than Switzerland has had in a year. And we're talking, okay, and they have less people in Chicago than there are in all of Switzerland. And there's 50% of the population in Switzerland with firearms. So I say all of that to come back to this idea that Switzerland, for some reason, voted to put in gun control. It's obviously not going to make anyone safer. They are already safe. This doesn't make anyone better off. Why in the world would Switzerland agree to this? What reason could they have? Well, as it turns out, if you look at the article by the BBC about this, one of the biggest reasons why they decided to do this is because if they didn't, they would lose out on trade deals. That's the problem. They would lose trade deals. So the European Union is using economics to force the people of Switzerland to do what they want. And the people of Switzerland who have been convinced that gun ownership is absolutely deadly. I mean, 2015 Paris, the terror attacks, which were done with cars in part, all of these, I'm thinking of Nice, France, the car attack there, but these attacks from foreigners who have come into their nation because of the open borders and killed natives of their nations, this is such a danger because of the guns that exist, even though that doesn't exist in Switzerland. This is a problem because I guarantee you're going to hear people like Kamala Harris, you're going to hear people like Beto O'Rourke, you're going to hear Bernie Sanders, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and probably Kirsten Gillibrand, as well as on the local level, people like Anthony Brindisi, Representative Anthony Brindisi, running around saying, look, the Swiss get it. The Swiss, they got rid of their, they're getting rid of their guns. They want gun control. They want to be more like Australia. Or New Zealand, excuse me. They want to be more like New Zealand. They want to get rid of guns. No, I don't think they really do. I think they want the deal. I think they want the economics. But there's no way you're going to tell me that Switzerland's going to be more safe from the 50% of people from outside their nation that are running around in their country committing crimes because they have less access to firearms. Because they're less able to protect themselves, they're suddenly going to be safer than they were before. I would predict that you're going to see Switzerland, the number of deaths, the actual number of murders go up. And I would suggest and I would believe that it's going to go up significantly. And it's going to be for the sole reason that foreigners in their lands are going to be able to kill more people without having to worry about anyone defending themselves. That you're going to see terror attacks in Switzerland because the people will be less able to protect themselves from a government, or rather from individuals who don't like their government. And the government will be incapable of being able to protect them because the government can't be everywhere all the time for everyone. Unless you happen to be walking around with a police officer following you everywhere you go, which tends to be elected officials. They get to have, Bernie Sanders has a detail that's watching out for him, his security detail. We see that for Joe Biden. Yes, you're running for president, you're a high-profile politician, you get a security detail that follows you around that will make sure that you're okay. The average citizen down the block doesn't have a police officer with them, so when someone tries to break into your house, you can call the police, and in the 3 minutes, if you're lucky, 3 minutes that it takes for the police to show up to your door, what's going to happen? And as we know from most mass shootings and most gun violence events that are not suicides, the first minute and a half is where the most danger exists. In that first minute and a half, that's where the most people die. So in the 3 minutes that you're waiting for the police to show up to your door, if they can show up in 3 minutes, what's going to happen? Who's going to defend you? The government? They're not there. The law? Criminals break the law. That's why they're called criminals. The deranged? They don't understand laws. That's why they're deranged. Who's going to protect you? And this is true in Switzerland, as it's true in New York City, as it's true in Chicago, it's true everywhere in the United States. I think this is a very troubling trend we see with Switzerland. This is a very troubling thing because, again, it goes back to, we see that the progressive left are looking to be right. Not to be, they just want to feel that they are right. It doesn't matter if they are right, that they have the right solution, that this is the best answer, that this is the best way to achieve the goal of safety for everyone. They don't care about that. They want to feel right. They want to go to sleep at night going, well, we have now banned all the guns. Everyone will be safe. Even though that's absolutely ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. If that were the case, then there wouldn't be armed guards in front of prisons. There wouldn't be armed guards at banks. You wouldn't see armed guards surrounding high-profile politicians being guarded by armed guards. If that were true, then you wouldn't need any of that. Kamala Harris, who is a gun owner and who carries a gun, a concealed carry firearm, wouldn't need that if it were, well, get rid of the firearms and you're safe. If she truly believed that, then she should give up her firearm and she should make sure she has no security detail and she'll be okay because she has no one who's armed, who is dangerous, that is around her, and therefore no one would ever bother her. But she obviously, as a former prosecutor, as a member of Congress, of the Senate, Congress, knows better than that. Someone who's out amongst the public knows that deranged and criminal people don't care about laws. And people who are terrorist tendencies or indications and do not respect the governments that they happen to be, of the nations that they happen to be in, they don't care. You're not going to make anyone safer. Mark my words, Switzerland will become a less safe nation. They will become more like the rest of Europe. They will become more like other nations in the world where they and you will see, I am sure of this, that as they have fewer and fewer firearms, they're going to have more and more people die. And I hope to be wrong. I hope I am wrong. But I truly believe the difference between 45 homicides in 2016 and 0 is not taking away the firearms that already exist, that have already existed for the history of Switzerland. Something that the people are accustomed to, that they have grown up with, that they train with. The difference is not getting rid of semi-automatic firearms, whether it's a handgun or a rifle. That's not the problem. If it were a problem, the 8 million people in Switzerland would all be dead. If we were to believe that firearms are as dangerous and deadly as they say. Half the nation would be dead because the other half would have killed them by now. That's not the case. Mark my words. You're going to see a difference. They're going to be part of the European Union. They're going to be more like everyone else. And everyone else has higher homicide rates, fewer guns legally allowed, more deaths anyway. With firearms, with knives, with cars, with bombs, from terrorists and bad people. If there's nothing else to take away from that, take that away. But I hope that you've enjoyed the show today. We're right at time, and I wish I had more time because there's so much more and more details I wanted to get into. But I thank you, and please remember that on Saturday, the 25th, we're going to have our 200th episode. We'll have some guests in. It'll be a great show, but I look forward to seeing you there. And until then, I thank you for joining me, Michael Voss, the Dragon of the Southern Tier, here on No Soundbites Allowed and on the Exceptional Conservative Network. I look forward to speaking to you again very, very soon. Thank you.